Limbo was released in 2010 by Playdead, but like many games in my never-ending backlog, I only just got around to playing it this year. I'd seen very little about it and therefore could fully take in the experience on the initial playthrough, which helped considering all the fun would be gone if I'd known every puzzle solution prior. I played Limbo through Xbox Game Pass and therefore didn't directly pay for it, though I believe $10 is a reasonable price for its length and the amount of content if you enjoy replaying games. However, this may not apply to most of you since as of the release of this video, Limbo has been removed from Game Pass. Limbo is more of an experience than a video game. It's quite a short game with simple base mechanics and a steady trickle of new ideas throughout its 2 to 3 hours of playtime. It's not breaking any new ground or significantly pushing the envelope. It's just a straightforward, easy to play game. After the first playthrough, it becomes a pretty chill game to stomp through in an hour or two. Also, you may notice the difference in length compared to my previous video on Ori, which makes sense for a game this small. I don't plan on running through the whole game with a play-by-play, but rather picking certain aspects and puzzles to discuss. With that, let's talk about Limbo. The entirety of Limbo is in black and white. Your character and most objects are black on a white background. Even with this artistic choice, the game does a good job of conveying a correct amount of information to a player during each new puzzle. Rarely is an item placed to blend into the background in such a way that you can't see it in time to react to it if you're just holding forwards. So visually, I think the game benefits from the use of black and white contrast. It also helps to create the atmosphere of the world you explore, and it feels very otherworldly and almost like a nightmare. The screen is often a bit fuzzy and flickers as though you're playing on an old CRT TV. Everything is trying to kill you, and you're always alone in this world. It's certainly not heaven, not quite hell. It's almost like you're stuck in a state of... I can't remember the word right now. Another aspect of the visuals that stuck out in this game are the death animations for the character being killed. You get absolutely up in this game, and it has no shame in cutting off body parts, chopping you in half, and spraying black blood everywhere. It's not that graphic due to the visual style, but without knowing much about this game, I could see it being mildly disturbing. However, it does set the tone of this game as very depressing. It really does feel like you're having a bad nightmare while playing it, and I can't say I've personally played any other game that achieves that, other than, oh god, no! Complementing the foreboding atmosphere is the audio design and music. Limbo doesn't exactly have music, making the world feel very desolate, which thankfully is what I imagine the developers were going for. Adding to this are the sounds of the environment and the objects you interact with, which all sound great. Limbo chose ambience over actual music tracks, and I think it paid off very well. I played this game in one sitting with headphones on and no interruptions from family with volume turned up a notch or two higher than normal, and it really added to the weight of all the actions happening on screen. Buzzsaws were loud and alarming. I always knew if there was electricity nearby because of the zapping audio cues. The churning of machines and gears in the factory felt very loud and invasive, or almost even uncomfortable. There's definitely more examples, but these are what stood out in my mind the most. Both the subtle and foreboding audio sources really add to the atmosphere of Limbo, and makes me glad I have a good pair of headphones to experience it all. Limbo is a linear puzzle game with basic controls, moving, jumping, and grabbing objects. You'll be using these simple abilities to solve various scenarios throughout the game. Most of these puzzles have just one solution, and it's your job to recognize what the developers expect you to do and to execute that action. There's very minimal flexibility in the method for solving them, and sometimes none at all. If you can't decipher what's intended of you, you aren't progressing onwards. And for a majority of the game, I think you're given just the right amount of information to work through these puzzles without it being immediately obvious what their solution is. It is very rare that this game makes such an absurd leap in logic that it's something you can't piece together yourself. For example, right at the start of the game, you ride a boat across a body of water and then reach a wall too high to jump onto. Using the concept of grabbing the handle of an object and pulling it into the correct position, you have to notice that the boat has its own handle. In the factory section of the game, there's several timed puzzles that activate upon pulling a lever, so you'll be activating several levers at specific times to perform actions like raising and lowering platforms and walls. That's the basis of the game's core systems, so I want to also discuss some of the more interesting puzzles, and ones that stood out to me during the game, as well as some that I may not have liked for various reasons. Limbo debuts its trend of noticing something that can be grabbed with these two bear traps pushed together, which cannot be jumped over unless they're pulled apart to be maneuvered one at a time. The lock with the rock that rolls towards you when you walk into it is one of the first examples of sudden do-or-die puzzles in the game. These have two possible outcomes. You get to the puzzle and the game barely gives you enough time to react and you closely make it out, or it's a scenario where you just have to die to know what to do next time. These types of puzzles can be frustrating as it promotes trial and error over smart thinking and skill. I imagine puzzles like these will test some people's patience later on in the game, but this first one's a very tame example. Using the bear trap to catch the spider's legs is very interesting for the first time, but retrieving the trap from the tree was something I only figured out by pure chance, which felt a bit off. Also, if you're killed by the spider, it literally impales you and turns you into a child shish kebab. It's cool seeing yourself get wrapped in a cocoon of webs and hop around for a brief period of time. This is the first puzzle that induces challenge by restricting movement, and I'm glad it doesn't overstay its welcome here. On my first playthrough, for some reason I could not figure out how to deal with these two swinging bear traps, but that's solely a personal anecdote and not a negative towards the game. I don't know how I did not realize this, it's not that hard. The spider chase is pretty cool, and it's followed by one of the weirder scenes where you rip off the spider's last remaining leg and push its corpse into the spikes to clear a gap. One of the few moments of disturbing imagery in the game. Stepping on the correct section of the pressure plate to not get crushed here is complete trial and error, which is okay because you respawn quickly but also annoying, though the idea of leading these kids back through the traps is interesting. This pulley puzzle has surprisingly strict timing. You solve it pretty quickly and it's more about execution rather than determining a solution. The game introduces the mind control worm mechanic in a smart way that makes it easy to understand exactly how it works. Not a puzzle, but seeing the factory come to life after restoring its power is really cool. The first rising water puzzle relies on you noticing a platform having a handle, otherwise you kinda just have to die to get a hint about what you need to do, which is a bit lame. The rising water plus mine worm puzzle is pretty creative in its execution, while also looking rather cinematic with the water levels increasing as the camera pulses. Any sections with flickering electrical signs suck. It never feels good navigating these as they turn off and on. It's very difficult to tell when it's actually turning back on. At the bottom of this hole is another bullshit insta-death if you didn't know or incorrectly guessed that you need to go left first to knock over the structure before getting the mind control worm. This pulls you through a tunnel that passes 3 different puzzles as you work your way back out, which is really clever level design and an interesting way of assembling the world. Knowing when to step on the switch to lower the box is completely trial and error, and I don't know how you could know the timing without dying to the saw first. Puzzles that require you to generate some momentum with certain objects to get them in motion got old very quickly for me. I already know what to do, so it's only a matter of going through the motions to reach the solution. It's just too slow. This puzzle with raising the box on the lift and inserting the one end under the wooden board took me way too long to solve my first playthrough. It's really simple and kinda cool once you know it, but I should not have struggled this much with it. Each of the challenges where the room rotates around you in this factory section are awesome, and they're definitely my favorite parts of Limbo. Especially this portion in pitch black, excluding the boy's eyes and an overhead light. Really damn cool. The dark minecart gauntlet was pretty neat, but leading up to it was lame. Oh, you didn't see the minecart out of position off screen so you'll die if it's not moved first, forcing you to repeat the boring momentum maneuver? Simply a skill issue, I suppose. Bro, why are there machine gun turrets here now? That seems a bit random, but go off, game. This first puzzle using the gravity/magnet lifts on the boxes confused the absolute hell out of me for way too long. This area is probably the largest area used for a puzzle in the whole game, but you'll soon realize that it's nothing that crazy, just collecting 2 boxes to use for extra height. The last couple puzzles incorporate many different ideas into various gravity puzzles. You'll be walking on walls and ceilings, taking leaps of faith to reach gravity switches, and most commonly performing some action before the gravity timer expires. They even include sections akin to the beat blocks from Super Mario Galaxy, where approximately every 10 seconds the direction of the gravity will flip, and build short challenges from that. The very last part uses this flipping combined with a switch press to create one final timing challenge. And with this comes the final moment of the game, where you break through the metaphysical barrier and escape the eternal limbo you've been trapped in. You then walk up a hill and see your sister, the person you've been searching for on this oppressive journey. It's so simple, yet when this happened on my first playthrough, I was nothing short of captivated by it. However, one thing to keep in mind is that this ending is meant to be open to interpretation, so how I saw the ending may be completely different from someone else, and I think that's kinda cool. I also neglected to talk much about the story until this point, because you can play and enjoy this game without caring whatsoever about the story, and that's how I felt until I saw the ending. And that's all the puzzles in the game that I cared to talk about. However, I'm missing something. As I was reviewing sections of the game from my own footage and through other playthroughs online, I found a speedrun of the game that followed an alternative path through a nearly pitch black section that I didn't even know existed, and after some research I figured out that this is why. It's inaccessible until you've collected all the collectibles in the game, which I haven't even mentioned yet in this video. They're usually well hidden and require out of the box thinking to find, and I found about 3 to 4 during my couple playthroughs. I really couldn't be bothered to find the remaining ones since they're only good for achievements, and an alternative route doesn't appeal to me all that much. Although, in the future, if I decide to play Limbo again and 100% it, completing this Darko would certainly be on the list. It looked pretty cool in the video at least. Although I'm not interested in spending $10 to play a game I've already beaten. All in all, I'm not totally sure where I stand with Limbo. The game is pretty enjoyable with some clever puzzles, a monochromatic visual style, and it's easy to replay. On the other hand, the ideas introduced with each puzzle never feels like it goes far enough, and the developers were just looking to cram several different kinds of puzzle concepts that sometimes have little connection to one another. Very rarely are two types of puzzles combined together to force more critical problem solving, and that feels like a huge missed opportunity. Once a puzzle concept has been used for a few puzzles, it's ditched and never used again. So I'd say that I'm pretty in the middle with Limbo, though I'll think back fondly about it in the future. I never had an issue with playing it through multiple times, and I hope in the sequel that Playdead can expand on Limbo's mechanics and make something even better. Thank you for watching.